Okay.
Okay, so you already know this part. So I'm just going to go to this application, point de qualité. And am I still showing the right app? Yeah, okay. So basically, you have, are you familiar with the concept of case lists?
Personally, I've seen, but I have not gone deeper in this.
Okay, so yeah, like if you are in an application and you want to add something new, you get these two choices, right? One is a survey, and then the other is a case list. And so what a case list does is it creates a new table, a data table, and you generally want to make your case list refer to some specific item or person or entity, right? So if I click on this, you recognize the case list with these three lines, like the hamburger icon. And when you click on it, you'll get some details about this specific case list. And so each case list has a case type. In this case, it's called VEQC. And so this is a table, and each row in the table is a specific VE. Each row represents a unique VE. And then we've got a bunch of other case lists here as well. So this one, formateur VE, this should be called VE trainer QC. Yeah, VE trainer QC. So in this case list, each row on the table is a unique VE trainer. And same thing for coordinator de terrain. Each row on the table is a FC. So, but then we have another case list here. You can see it's sort of embedded in, like inside of it. And so this is what's called a child case. So it's another case list, but you can link them. So if you know anything about relational databases, you can have separate tables that are related to each other. So in this case, each record on this case table which is called VEQC evaluation. Each row in the table is a specific evaluation. Somebody went out, filled out an evaluation for the VE, and the columns of data in this table are fields that relate to that evaluation. So it might be the date the evaluation happened, the score, the feedback that the agent gave to the VE or whatever. But also it will have a foreign key, like an ID that links it to a specific VE in this case list. So basically the way this works, when somebody loads up the form, we can take a look at it. I might have to log in with somebody's Umar Traore, for example. If he goes in here, he's going to see this case list VE. But he won't actually see this evaluations immediately. So he can click on the VE case list. So this folder right here, this corresponds directly to that. And so when I click on it, instead of seeing a list of forms, which you might be familiar with when working with these survey style forms, instead of seeing a list of forms, I'll actually see a list of the cases. So the different records in this case table. So, and my first thing I need to do is pick one of them. I have to pick one of the one of the cases that I will then go on to fill out forms for. So if I click on this person, for example, it gives me a little bit of details about this specific VE. So, it's basically saying, it's going in and pulling out that VE's record from the case list, and then showing me the different columns of data that we have on this person and whatever values are in there for them. I think if we find somebody who, none of these people have had an evaluation done so far, but some of them probably have, further down on the list here. So this V has already had an evaluation done, so there's some more information on here. And so I actually get to see a little bit more information, like there's more data on this VE. So that just means there's more columns that have data on this VE. So it's telling me some history of their evaluations that have been done. So if I continue on with this person, I click on this, it brought me immediately to the next level, right? So we picked a VE from this list, and then it brought me in here into the submenu, and we see this list of evaluations. So if I click on this list, and normally it should show me all of the evaluations that have already been done, because we have this separate case table, which is this, that has several records. In this case, we know there's 7, because we saw this person has had 7 evaluations. So for some reason it's not showing up here. That might be a problem, a bug with this application. But normally they would be able to see the history of evaluations that have been done with this VE. And then in the bottom there's this button which allows them to create a new evaluation. And actually, when I click on this button, what happens is it's actually opening this form. And yeah, so I can just show you, if I click this, now it starts asking about the date of the evaluation, number of farmers mobilized on this day, and then, the content of the form. So what's happening here is this form, which if we click on it, you'd recognize it. It's not really different than any other form that you've made before. Let me just expand that a little bit. So you're seeing, the standard structure of this form. And what's happening is, if I click on it, you'll notice there's a little plus sign here, whereas over here you have this arrow. That's because there's a few kinds of forms that these case lists use. Some types will create a new case in some case list. Some types will just update or modify a case. So you might think an example you'll see in the CommCare documentation would be, you might have a case list which is, mothers, and each row on the table is a mother, and say a mother gives birth. Well, you might need to fill out a form that registers a new birth, and that form, a side effect, a result of that form, will create a new case in a different list. Or you might have a form that's like register new mother, and that form would add a new case to your mother's case list, right? So that's just a good way of conceptualizing what these do. So if you click on this gear for these forms, for these case list forms, you get to see what exactly is going on with the contents of this form. So I clicked on that gear next to the form, and we have this tab here called Case Management. And so here you have a few options. First of all, it's asking you, what's the type of this form? is it going to be one of these forms that opens a new case in this VE case list, or is it going to be a form that just updates it, like maybe changes a column of data, like here, this is updating the VE's case list. Every time somebody fills out an evaluation, it's changing the column for this VE, the column on this VE table, it's changing the column of last evaluation. It's updating the value in that column on that row to be whatever this form had in the question date de evaluación. So this is actually an interesting form because it both is a follow-up form. It's updating some values for this VE case list. So it's updating values for that VE. But then if you scroll down, it's also creating a child case. So in the analogy of a pregnant mother, if you have a case list where each record is a mother, maybe you'll do a survey with a mother and say, how are you doing? What's your blood pressure? Have you suffered from malaria? And you'll be answering yes, no, 72.5. And then you might have a question that's, have you given birth yet? And maybe if she says no, then okay, continue. But if she says yes, then you might need to open up a new case in, say, a child case list. And you want that new case, to be linked to that mother. So that's what's happening here. When they fill out this form for an evaluation, it's both updating some information about the VE. So it's updating this column for when was the last evaluation that happened. It's also updating that VE's average score and the number of evaluations that have been done with them. But at the same time, it's creating a new case in this other list, which is a list of evaluations by that VE. So in here, it's data about that specific form, about that specific evaluation, rather. So like, what was their actual QC score? That kind of thing. So before I go on, is all this clear? Do you have any questions about these case lists, how they relate to each other, or anything I just said?
Yeah, I understand the relation between the mother case and the child one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there is a condition between them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a condition in order to make the child case visible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I understand that. But when you were showing the list of evaluation, my question at this level is, how do we get the VE's information into this place? Because I could see the VEs.
Mm-hmm.
So where are those VEs located, and where do we update them?
Yeah, good question. So that's the next thing I wanted to touch on. So how do you allow, so I'm logged in as Umar Traore right now. Do you mean like, how is it that, because there's like over 1,000 VEs in this case list here. Like, I think there's 1,500 now. But I'm only seeing, when I'm logged in with this user, something like, well, actually, this is all the V's in Sikasso region. So there's probably about 500 or something, 400. So basically, every case needs to have an owner. So And when a case gets created, there's two ways to create a case. You can either create a case within a form, like this example of an evaluation, or someone like you or me who has access to this portal, we can go in and bulk import cases. So we can, make a list of VEs and manually define who will be the owner of that case. And basically, an owner can be a specific user, like a username. You can assign a case to a user so that only someone who's logged in with that username will see that case list. So right now I'm seeing these cases, but if I log out, and log in as, let's say, Samanu, he's in a different district, so he's going to see a different set of V's entirely. That's because they have different owners. So that's what's important to note about and so a lot of times what we're doing when someone's asking you when someone's saying like, I don't see my VEs, I don't see the VEs on my case list, it's probably because the owner isn't set correctly. Like maybe it's not correctly attributed to this user, or something like that. But to complicate this further, there's another way that you can organize who sees what, who sees which cases, okay? So what I just described is sort of the traditional way. You just assign a case to a specific user. And the way to do that, I'll show you an example in Google Sheets. We can just do this. Or maybe I should just download the document that Siddiq shared with us, and we can just use that. So let me download that document, load it up onto Google Sheets. Okay, this isn't what I was expecting. Let me read this ticket again. Pouvez-vous, s'il vous plaît, ajouter tous les villages pour chaque personne de la liste que vous trouverez en pièce jointe dans leur CommCare pour l'évaluation de points de qualité. Okay. So these are RCs. And SCs. Okay, so just an example. Let's say I've got a list of VEs that I want to add. What I would need to do is create a document in Excel, and one column, the first column should be case ID. So this column will hold the unique identification for that specific case. And then another one you need is name. So every case needs to have a name. And then you can have anything else you need for that case. So you might have pay, district, zone, code, something like that. And so the way you would create a new case is you would put the name, put the country, put the district, put the zone, put the code, and then you would also need some information to tell CommCare who will be the owner of this case. So the way that I described it before, where a single user is the owner of that case. So if you only wanted one person to be able to see that case, what you do is say owner name, and then in that column you would put the person's username. So for example, I'm a little confused. I think this isn't usually how we do usernames. Usually we do not just their employee ID, but we do something like ML40009. Like that would normally be somebody's username, CommCare username. So if I were to do that, the user ML4009 would be able to see that case, but nobody else. So that's pretty simple. This would create a new case because I did not provide a case ID here. So if I were to want to add this VE, I could come into the data tab and go into the import cases from Excel, and then select a file. Pick that. Here, let me just download that. This sheet. So here, I imported that file, so it's ready to be uploaded, and then you would click next. And the first step is you have to tell it which case you're trying to change. So there's every case that we have so far here, and usually it's just easy enough to start typing the case, and the one I'm looking for is VEQC. And then it can already see, like you'll see these are the same columns that I put in that Excel file. So you have case ID, name, pay, district, zone. That's what I have here, case ID, name, pay, district, zone. So it's already started to parse that file, and it's asking me which column has the identifier, the unique ID for this case. And it automatically checks for case ID, I think, or maybe it just checks for whatever's in the first column. So you don't have to name it case ID, but you could name it Frank, and it would, as long as you told CommCare that that's where I have my IDs, it will do that. So, and then the next step here, it's asking me, okay, what do we do if we look in the case ID column and we can't find a current case that has that ID? What do we do in that case? And here, if you check this button, this box, you're saying, well, create a new case, okay? So in this case, if I had put a case ID here, and it's usually some long string of text and numbers like this, if it found a match, if it found this case ID already, all it would do is just update any values that I gave it. So perhaps something really common that you might do is reassign a case. So maybe you want this VE to go to a different owner. You could actually, you wouldn't need all this other stuff. You could just upload two columns, one with the case ID and then another with the owner name. and that would leave all the other data for that case alone. All it would do is change the owner. So, one person was seeing it on their phone before, it would go away, it would go to a different person as soon as everybody's synchronized. So that's a really common thing you end up doing with this tool, is if you have to move people en masse because maybe an agent changed districts or something like that, or an agent left and a new one came, and you have to move all their cases to a different user. That's a possibility. So in this example, it's not going to create a new case because it already found a case ID. But if I left it blank, then if I left it blank and I check this box, now it's going to make a new case. It's going to make, I probably waited too long. So let's say make a new case. So if you had perhaps a few cases, maybe you wanted to update one, so you had a case that already had an ID, but then you wanted to add two more, you could do this. You could submit a file that has some records with the case ID, and in which case CommCare would just update their values to whatever you have here. But then for the other ones, it's going to make new cases for those. Uh-oh. Oh, my power just went out. I can't see my other screen. Let me plug into my battery. Okay, that's better. Okay, so is that clear how importing these cases, making new cases versus updating cases?
Yeah, this is clear.
Okay. And so then the final step here that it's asking me before I actually confirm is it's just saying, all right, you gave me this document and it had a name column, it had a pay column, district, zone, code, and owner name. And currently this case list, this VEQC case list, has a bunch of columns already, right? And it's showing me all the columns that are currently associated with this case. And it's just asking me, how do you want to map these? Map the data that's in your Excel file to the current case properties for this case list. So, maybe I actually spelled this column country instead of pay. That's okay. I could select the country column from my Excel file and say use whatever's in there to update the pay property for the case list, and that's fine. But usually the easiest is just to use the same column names, and then it will automatically match up the data to the right properties. And you see these ones here, the ones with the green check marks. It's saying, so just note that this whatever is in this column name will update the case's name. Each case has a special name, and this is going to update that. And then more importantly, down here, it's saying the owner name column is going to assign the case to a new owner if you gave me a username, a group name, or an organization name. So that's just telling you, be aware, we're going to reassign this case to whomever you told us to in this column. So, and then finally I would confirm it, and then it would take you back to this screen, and you would see that upload. You'd see the result of that. So if you made a mistake, it would tell you here. So for example, if the owner name didn't exist, if the user didn't exist, it would give me an error. It would say the record in this row, we had an error, the owner name doesn't exist, or something like that. So that's usually a common error you would see. And here, for example, you're seeing there was one row where there was a blank in the case ID, and so it created a new case. So that's what it's saying here. So if you were expecting to make new cases with your import, you should expect to see two messages here, like something like this, maybe something like this. Or if you're only expecting to create new cases, you might just see this. So this little message is important. So yeah, that's how you import cases and create new cases, modify the cases. But the thing that complicates all this is that there's actually another way to control who sees what cases. What I just described is setting the owner to be a specific username. But another way you can do it is to set the owner to be a group or a location, which is associated with this organization structure. And what that means is you can put more than one mobile worker, more than one CommCare user. You can put more than one mobile worker into a group or a location, and then they will all be able to see the cases in that group or location. So, and this is actually what we're using for this project. So we're using this organization structure. So if you click on the users tab, and let's just go look at, for example, Samunu or Umar Traore, which we could see here. Umar Traore, you can actually see here, it says Umar Traore, Sikasso District QC. Where does that come from? And you can actually, when you click on his name, you see organization type. So this is giving us a clue as to what location this user is assigned to. And so we can actually see that in a few places, like right here, we have Umar Traore's username, user profile, and you can see in this locations tab where they are assigned. So he's assigned to a location called field team / Mali / Sikasso. And then another way to see that is to actually go and look at this whole organization structure. So if I click on this section here, organization structure, which is still under this users tab, we've got a few organization structures that different projects are using, and the one that we want here is called field team. So you can expand this, and field team is this highest. This is basically going to be a hierarchy, an organization structure, I guess that's the name. And the highest level is called field team, and then you get to country level, and you have Mali and Senegal. When you expand that, now you see you're at the district level. So these are just child levels of the ones above them. And when you further expand that, then you get to the zone level, and you can even further expand that, and then it looks like it stops at sales leader level. So there's like, maybe this is like a grouping of villages that each sales leader is responsible for. So I don't think this is actually being used for this application. I think it's only going down to the zone level. So basically what you would do if you had a list of VEs, let's say these VEs are in Kajolo, and I want, so what I can do to assign these VEs to Kajolo, I can go look, I can edit this location. This is referred to as a location. And this has a site code, a unique site code called Kajolo QC. So what I could do is copy that code, and under owner name, I think this is how it works. It might be this. Let me actually check something. When I uploaded that, file, it told me in that little green check mark text a little bit of information I wanted to verify. So the field will assign the case to a new owner given by username, group name, or organization name. Okay, so I think that's not right. So the organization name is right here, Kajolo. So if I put that here, Kajolo, it would, if I created this case, it would set the owner not to be a specific user, but rather this location, Kajolo. And then who would get to see that? Who would actually see that case on their CommCare list? Well, that would be anybody who is in this, who's assigned this location. So we just set the owner of this case to be Kajolo, but we have workers who are assigned to this location right now. So this, I think, is the FC of Kajolo. So he can see any cases that are assigned to this location. But you could add more people too. So you could add a second person, and now she also would be able to see those same VEs on her CommCare. So that's a way you can have more than one person accessing cases. But then even more, since this is an organization structure, you can set it so that not only do users who are assigned to this location, Kajolo, not only can they see the cases that are assigned to that location, but also anybody who's assigned to the district can also see those cases. The district of Sikaso, because this is the parent of Kajolo. But then even more so, Mali is the parent of Sikaso. So anybody who's assigned to Kajolo or Sikaso or Mali or field team would be able to see all of the cases that have as an owner the zone Kajolo. So that's a way so that like maybe the FC can go and evaluate a VE, but so can the RC, who might be assigned to Sikaso. If they go and visit that same VE or a VE in Kajolo, they can also fill out an evaluation because they can also see that case on their case list. Or maybe Bruno wants to go to the field. Maybe he's at this Mali level, so he can also fill out an evaluation. So that's the advantage of using this organization structure. It gives more people access to those cases. So does this make sense so far?
Yes, it makes sense. This is really helpful. And now I can see if you go a bit under zone, if you click zone, I can see one is the SL, But what about the VE trainers
Yeah,
who are now having the same application?
yeah. So I think this is probably where there's a lot of cleanup to do in setting these user assignments, um, because well, okay, so turns out if I look at the district level, if I go to edit on the district level and click on users, I see a lot of people. I see Umar, so the RC is there, but then there's 5 other people, and so these are actually the VE trainers. So right now, the VE trainers can see everybody in the district, and I think the reason that they did that is because there used to be not a lot of VE trainers, and maybe they were working across zones, right? So they wanted them to be able to see more than one zone, and so they put them at the district level instead of the zone level. So that's fine. They're just going to be seeing more VEs than maybe they need. You know, if somebody's only working in Kajolo and Klela, well, they're also going to see Nyana VEs, but you know. So, yeah, that's about it. That's how this works.
Okay.
Next, like to actually respond to this ticket, I'm wondering. So we've got a list of coordinators. And do we know the issue? Did they really say what the problem was? Because like just looking at Kajolo, for example, this is the FC of Kajolo, and he's already assigned to that zone. So right there. And then we can even verify. You can go and if you go into the application, you could load up, you could log in as that user. So, Konate. So you can see this user is at the location of Kajolo zone. And pick this one because I know I will probably recognize these villages. It gave me an error. There we go. Yeah, so you can see 6 pages, 10 pages each, 60 villages. I know that's about how many are in Kajolo, and I recognize some of these names. So doesn't appear to be a problem here, for this FC at least. The problem is that I can't see the evaluations. I'm going to talk to Kristen about that. I think there must be some issue with how the evaluations themselves are being made visible. Like right now, it might be only the person that actually filled out that evaluation that can see it, but maybe we want everybody to be able to see all the evaluations. So maybe the issue is just some of these people are not seeing the right person, or another possibility is Abdurrahman is trying to log in as ML57454. In which case, that's a different user. Let me see if that even is a user. It is a user. It's deactivated though. I don't know. Maybe you want to, because I'm noticing like a lot of people are using this ID now, whereas others are using the full ML ID. So maybe you want to standardize that and make sure everybody's using the same style of ID. But anyway, so how would we make, like, maybe there's some people on here that are new, or they're new to their zone and they don't currently have the right location set. That's a possibility. So one way to rectify that could be to use this zone as a well, first of all, I think I want to make sure that everybody here has a username, and then I would want to match up, I would want to assign them to the right zone. So you could manually go through and find each one of them in this mobile worker interface, but maybe an easier way would be to bulk download all the mobile workers, look for their IDs, and then also bulk download the organization structure, which you can do here. You can say download organization structure. Let's pick field team and download that. And yesterday I happened to download the organization structure, or the users, which normally takes a really long time. But I have one that's only 1 day old, so that might save us some time here. Yesterday. Must have deleted it from here, changed the name. Nicholas Man test users. So what I would do with this list is when you download these users, you can see, you know, their username, but also their user ID, which is, again, like basically everything in CommCare has one of these, a really long string of text and numbers. That's to say all the cases, all the users, all the locations, all the groups, they all have one of those. And you can use those to reassign people as well. And then we also have locations over here. So if somebody currently belongs to a location, you can see that over here. So I think what I might try and do is get this column, also the user ID and the username and the name, and copy these. It's going to take a while because there's thousands of rows here. Actually, what might be quicker is copy this, bring this into this document on a new page. I sent it on a mission to copy all this, but that's going to take a while. It'll give up or finish eventually. So now paste the new one in there. Hope it didn't grab this part. No. Okay. Yeah, it did. So let me try that again. Copy this. Paste that. So what I can do is, I just want to make sure that each of these usernames actually exists. So maybe I'll do, and I'm also curious about if they have both types of usernames. Do you have a preference on that? Like, is there one? Is it better to have everybody use ML, or rather ML? Like, I know when you make new usernames, you tend to use this style, and I'm guessing most of these people also have one of those. But maybe from an earlier era, they also got one like this.
Yeah. Now, when we are creating a new user account, we have ML before the HR code.
Okay. Like, it might be nice for everybody to have the same style.
That's
in which
true.
case, I'm curious to see how many of these people already have one of these, and then how many have one of these already. So what I'll do is look up to see if there's an index user ID for each of these. So first of all, show me index the user, and then see if it can find a matching employee ID. In here, and then also oops, I did not mean to put it there. Cut that. So is that right? I had a G being the user ID. Looking up this in the first column, yeah. So NA, and that means it didn't find one. But then if I check for the ML, he does have one. He has one of those. So now I just copy this down. I can see what everybody's situation is. Oh, I see why it's not working. This is text, but this is number. So I need to convert this to text. I think that's what it is. Yeah, okay, that worked. So now, some people have one of the old style IDs. But almost everybody has a new style, except for the OGs, the really old people in the organization, it seems. So maybe we should just go and use these by default for everybody. I think that would save a lot of confusion later if we can just standardize everybody's. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so what I'll do is, it looks like we just need to create a few IDs here. Hopefully that's possible. So probably the quickest way, just so we can make sure that those IDs are actually available, would be to try and make them here. Create mobile worker. Yeah, so that's available. This is going to be Bakary Traore, coordinator de Kita. Kita, right? Yeah.
Kati. Traore. I mean,
Ooh, okay.
Kita,
They've got two
Kita,
people
yeah.
for Kita, but one of them is Kati.
Okay, I think I needed to update this after all because Bakary Traore, he is in Bamako region now, and there is another regional coordinator who is called Issa Traore.
Yeah. But which one's
Yeah,
in Kita? Because they're both for Kita right now.
Issa is in Kita, Bakary is in Bamako.
Ah, okay. Where did Samunu go?
Samunu has a change of role. He's the deputy field director now.
Nice. Okay, so we just need to create 3 IDs here. We'll do that quickly. So this is Bakary. And while we're at it, we can just, if you're creating new workers, you can set the location right here. So if I start typing Bamako, this is the one I want. So I know I want him to be at district level Bamako, and we'll just give him 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, to start. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next one, Bagbo.
Ibrahim, yeah, he's in Cebu.
And then Umar. Nice. If this was like already in use, it would tell me here.
Yeah.
And actually, if a username has ever been deleted, so say I created a username for somebody, but then I delete it, no one else ever can use that username. So that's what I was a little worried about, because I've run into that a couple times. Like in the past, people have deleted usernames, and then a new person gets that ID, but they can't actually use it. So this works fine for creating users, but only if you have a couple. You can also create users through Excel. You can upload an Excel file with users. The issue there is like it might not work. Like some people, you might get errors, and it will tell you only afterwards. So what I can do just to oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to load up each of those people. So let's see. Ibrahima Traore. This is the one. And I'm just going to deactivate his other username because I don't want him to use it anymore. So if it's deactivated, they won't be able to log in with it anymore. Let's deactivate that one. He's gonna complain real soon, but we just have to tell him that he got a different one. And then we got Bakary Traore, Ibrahima. I wanted to actually deactivate Bakary's other one too. Because we actually pay, like what we pay to CommCare is some amount per number of active accounts per month. So And then who's the other one? Umar. Umar Traore. Deactivate this one. You can always reactivate him later if you need to, but hopefully we wouldn't have to do that here. So I've got their profile here, and up here in the URL, you can see this number here. This is their user ID. So if we had downloaded those users, and this lookup table had found something, it would have found this. So I can plug this right in here because I know that's what his user ID is. And Ibrahima's user ID. And Umar's. Okay, so now everybody has a user ID. Everybody has this style of username. And this, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete these. We don't really need these anymore. I don't want those. And what I'm trying to create here is a document that I can upload to CommCare. So this is gonna stand for the username column. These will be the user ID and is active. So I remember I looked to see if one of these people had, I think it was Abdurrahman Konati, I looked to see if he did have a username of the ML style, and he did, but it was deactivated. So I can go like this and activate everything from here. And that's going to make sure that these get activated. And next, I need to match the location to this. So the problem here is these look like they might be spelled differently than the way they might be spelled elsewhere, which could cause some errors. So what I wanted to do is just see, first of all, there's a couple other, a user can have, besides like sort of the standard name, email, language, role, they also can have different data associated with them. So for example, all these ones that start with data, we might be able to fill those out for people. Country we know is Mali for everybody. And then district, the problem, these are probably not the best spelling, so what I was gonna see if I could do is just get like a list of all the options that are over here. So I'm not duplicating anything. District. Zone is also zone. U. Well, these are also spelled all kinds of ways. Okay, what I'm going to do is actually don't use these. And I was going to download the organization structure before, so I'll do that right now. Or did I already do that? Maybe I did. So then I can just import this into here. Import. this document is going to come with a lot of sheets. Most of them are going to be empty. Yeah, so it gave me all these for all the location organization structures of other things that I don't really want, but I can just delete these. Delete, and then the ones I want are the ones that end with QC. These are the ones that are associated with the field team organization structure. So I've got zone, district, and I think what I was going to try and do is see if I can match these up with the correct spelling. So let's find the district here. See if we can match, or wait, no, I need to get the zone first, because I have a zone here. Hang on a sec. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. This is just going to give me an error for anybody who has it spelled incorrectly. Like this one, for example. So Yangpolila. We'll just go grab the correct spelling from here. And then, what else? Sofeto. It's actually Sefeto.
Sefeto.
And then, of course, these are districts, not. So actually, these people, they're regional coordinators. They don't need to be assigned to a zone. Right? This column is for zone, and they're regional coordinators. Next, now I can use that to get the district, I think, because here it's showing me the parent of this location. So this location, Bamako or Bankomana, is a parent site of Bamako. So I'll just look this up to get that. Index. Get this, match the zone to zone name, and then finally I actually want just the first part of this, so I can go like this. Substitute. There's like a thing on the end of each of them that says D hyphen QC. So I can just say take this part and replace that with nothing. Hyphen D QC. Oh, whoops. and then also make that proper case. That gives me the right thing here, but then I've got these didn't find anything, of course. Oh wait, so we said
Kolokani. He is in Kolokani.
Buramadumia is Kolokani.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Buguni,
Madu Keita, Buguni, this is fine.
Segu, and then this is Kita,
Yes.
Sukasu.
And Umar Sigasu.
Yeah. Okay, and then this one actually we don't need. This is something I use for something else. And then the staff code, this is actually just this minus the ML. So this, the right part of that, the right 5 digits of that. And finally, title, this, there's already some titles here. Let me just quick check what they are. Okay, regional coordinator or field coordinator. This is what the titles are currently. So I will use those here. Luckily they're all organized so that all the regional coordinators are on the bottom. Field coordinator is up here. All right, and then now I actually don't need any of this stuff anymore. So I'm not trying to update any of those. These are not really useful for me. So I'll delete those, and then, oops, too early. I need to get rid of these formulas. Copy that, paste as values. Now I can delete them. And then finally, to get these to be in the right location, this is what I need to do. I need to pass a location code 1. This will be their location. So make a column called location code 1, and this is going to be this is not going to be the name of the location, but rather the site code. So I just need to do a couple more lookups here. Index. For the first people, I'm looking up the site code based on the zone. Zone name, and that's down to the regional coordinator. And then for the rest of them, this is going to be slightly different. I'm looking for district site code from district QC. I don't think this is right. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. That's right. Okay. So that's good. Now I'll paste these, and now I'm good. I think this is everything I need to set up all these users, and this will be sort of the I don't know. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna I'm gonna reset all their passwords too. You can do that as well from here. You can just say password 1 2 3 4, because maybe they haven't used them in a while and their passwords might have been like all sorts of different things. Or you could make their passwords be their staff codes. Do you have like a default that you do if you make a new person?
It's with the one you put now. 1 2 3 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I want to update or upload. So I actually don't need any other columns. I just want this one. So I'll copy this somewhere else. And save that. And then to upload workers, you go to the user tab, mobile workers, and do a bulk upload. So now this will download all the workers. This one will upload a file that I choose.
Okay.
So I chose that file. And you can always click on that help site. There's a link to the help site, and that'll explain like what are the things you have to have here, what format they need. That's useful. But I've done this a few times and made all the mistakes. So I'm pretty sure this is gonna work, but I'm always surprised. Like if we accidentally had duplicates, like sometimes you accidentally have the same person, the same username twice on a list, and that will cause you an error or something like that. So now, just to test this, remember we had Kajolo location before. It had one user assigned there, and it was the 57454, but not ML57454. So
yeah.
Once this is done, we should be seeing in the location Kajolo ML57454. And I'm actually not sure what, that should be, we should see that one and the old one. There he is. So, if you don't believe it, maybe you can check more, but it should work.
Yeah.
And then let's see, Segu, we should see Bagbo's ID there now. His new one. And
Ibrahim Traore.
the other one I deactivated, so we don't see that here anymore. So I guess what you need to do now is just tell everybody that we changed some usernames. Like some people might have been using, like Abdurrahman Konate was probably using the old one, the 57454. He can be told to use the other one. And you can I think people might ask, like, well, what about all the evaluations I did with the other username? Well, we can actually modify those. So we could reattribute forms filled out with the incorrect style of username. We can reattribute those to the right person. It's possible, but I think this is done. I think if this is what Siddiq wanted, then then there's nothing left to do here except tell them what the usernames they should be using are. So I'll share this with you.
Okay.
And then I think what I heard from Babi is that right now this application is only people are using this VE module. Like there's also the same exact thing for VE trainers, and they want coordinators to be able to evaluate VE trainers. But as you saw, you couldn't see that. All we saw was the VE. So it's probably because this is hidden or not the right number of people are not able to see it for some reason. Oh, I guess not. So depends on the title. Oh, okay. So you can see here. You can see this VE trainer list if you are whoever that is. If you are Kadi, or if you are in Senegal and you're a regional coordinator or field coordinator, or if you're a data admin, or if you're a VE coordinator. So that means if you're in Mali and you're a regional coordinator or field coordinator, you can't see this. So that's why I couldn't see it when I logged in with Umar. So, but then the issue here is, I know there's a lot of new VE trainers. And yesterday what I was showing Siddiq was that they need to create these new cases. So the only VE trainers they can see right now in the application are the ones that were there from the first creation of VE trainer cases. But now that there's new ones, they need to be created. Does that make sense? So like a new VE trainer, they have already made a mobile worker username. So they have a username and they're able to see VEs even because they're assigned to the right location. But your mobile username doesn't have anything to do with that VE trainer's case. Like they need to be both a case in this VE formatter VE case list. And so in that case, they are a case that belongs to, somebody at the coordinator or regional coordinator level. So that's what needs to happen now, is they need to create, in the same way that we made, a VE case for the VE case list, CDEAC has to make the VE trainer case list, and so on. Like this application even has a case list for coordinators. So we need to make some cases for coordinators for those to exist as well. So I think we've talked long enough. It's already late, but maybe that'll be a subject for later. I think CDEAC has to make that. I think he needed some time to put that together. So maybe another time we can talk about that. Because I think what's going to happen in the future is more VEs will be needed to be added. More VE trainers will come and they'll go. So they'll need to be added or removed from this case list. But they'll also need to be added or removed from the organization structure. So that if they are going to be evaluating VEs, they need to be able to see the right cases. So that's the kind of maintenance that's going to have to happen. This is what Kristen has been doing, but there's just so much change happening that we'll need to keep this going. So maybe what we should have is like a master list where somebody like CDEAC can give you maybe an up-to-date list of who's on the team, and
Mhm.
you or you working with him could, let me show you an example. I think it was, is it this one? Might have been this one. You'll need to maintain like a list of the team, right? So kind of like how in Salesforce we have a field staff table where all the VEs, sales leaders, field coordinators are. They need something similar for the other staff members, especially this new VE trainer group. Because if we have that and if it's up to date, then we can actually like synchronize that table with CommCare. Like we can actually be creating cases and reassigning people to different groups automatically. That might be in the long run the best way to go. If we can just have one place where they need to modify who are the new Vs and who's assigned where, we can set it up so that it gets automatically updated. But that would be, I think, sort of the medium or long-term goal. For the time being, yeah, I think you'll probably have to work with Siddiq to keep this up to date as there are changes. But yeah, sound good?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and like close that ticket, or at least tell them that I